day of December, and we are counting down to Christmas. So yes, I will keep reminding you that the Christmas is here, and you know this is the spirit, the season of love. So spread love around, and we are going to be starting with our first segment, which is the paper review, and I'll be starting from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Under the Guardian newspaper this morning, the lead story here is saying government data as painful initiation of womanhood flourishes, and that is on the Guardian newspaper. And we also have one-way local flights hit 200,000 naira ahead of festive travels. Well, either they like it or not, we are still going to travel. So the government, I think, should actually do something about it, because the roads, even the roads, even if you're going to use the road, is expensive. Flights are expensive. Everything is expensive at this period. And you know, when it is coming to the Christmas period, or the festive period, most times, you know, transportation seems to skyrocket. So we need, you know, the government to do something about it. It is not even yet the time that people will travel, and it is already expensive. So just imagine when it is actually time for people to travel. So please, the government has to do something about transportation, even as we celebrate Christmas. And we have, on a sad note, we have 10 Lafia University students kidnapped by gunmen, and this has been on a consistent level these days. The attack on Lafia students. They will go to communities where the students are, you know, and attack them. So we feel, there was a time we brought someone here to talk about this thing, and he talked about how the government can't put, you know, security personnel in all these places. So, but we know we have the vigilantes in this community. The vigilantes should be more opt and then, you know, prompt about their security consciousness. Please, we need these students to be alive. And we also have how president as petroleum minister stalled 11 trillion naira subsidy probe, and then that is on page 3. We have Tinubu, Oborewori, Gbagi, Odamon, Kokori, and then we have again queue surfaces at banks as customers battle cash scarcity. We have more pressure on industries, businesses over 952 naira per dollar exchange rate for imports, and that is on page 6. And we have Afreximbank's president Orama emerges Forbes Africa's Person of the Year, and that you will see on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. And the next story, the next paper we are going to be reading this morning is the Punch newspaper. And on the Punch newspaper, we have Sanusi Capet, NMPCL, doubts dollar remittance after subsidy removal. And then that you will see on page 29. And on page 30, we have some foreign airlines may quit Nigeria. IATA wants federal government. And talking about the Kaduna bombing, federal government vows to punish culprits. ACF demands GOC's removal, and that is on page 2, and also the lead story on the Punch newspaper this morning. And the writer here says federal government promises to unravel causes of bombing, rebuild affected community, defense headquarters pleads, and we also have curb accidental bombing with AI, U.S. Army's center tells military. ACF demands probe. And we have on page 27 says Tinubu Nupeng order Mon as Kokori dies at 80. And we have I won't surrender my mandate to intimidation, and that is coming from Fubara, and that you will see on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And then we have the National Judicial Council sacks Oshun George, dismisses Adeleke's petition against Chief George, and that is on page 14 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have about the kidnapping of the 10 Lafia students also on the Punch newspaper. And then we have on page 13, NPA blames concession for $853 million, 1.8 billion naira revenue shortfall. And that is it on the Punch newspaper this morning. And the next paper we are going to be reading is the Vanguard newspaper. And the window story on the Vanguard newspaper is talking about federal government increases import duty rate by 22.24%, third time in 1 year. And then that is on page 20. We also have on page 14, Makurdi Naka Otukpo Road, Benue's shortest route to hell. If you have followed that road, or if you have followed that route, you would know what is actually happening and what they mean by the shortest route to hell, because it is actually that road is actually a very, very bad road, and it is a road that most people follow. So I just feel like the government should do something, especially the Kogi Benue, state government should do something about that road. And we have failed abduction, sue EFCC, DSS, Reps Committee tells Emefiele's lawyer, and that is on page 2. Kokori, pro-democracy icon, dies at 80. Tinubu Oborewori Nupeng Mon, and that is on page 7. And the lead story here on the Vanguard newspaper this morning is talking about the Kaduna error will be 100% sure before bombing target. That is coming from Defense Headquarters. And that you will see on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. We have PDP distances self from merger talks, and that is on page 9. And then we have LCCI, NECA, lament exit of PNG and others. That is on page 19. And if you've been following the P&G talk, you will see that many foreign companies are threatening to leave Nigeria due to the the hardship that is facing businesses this time. And then going straight to another story, we have federal government votes 548.56 billion naira for federal roads nationwide. And that is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Still on page 9, uneasy calm in police over new postings. And that will be it on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And I will go straight to the Nigerian Tribune. And the lead story on Nigerian Tribune is on Kaduna drone strike. The guilty will be punished, says Tinubu. And then he says Beri community to be rebuilt under Fulako initiative. Defense Headquarters statement unnecessary, ACF says. And that is on page 2. And that is the lead story. And coming to the window story on the Nigerian Tribune, we have Dangote Refinery receives first crude oil shipment from Agbami, set to commence production, and that is on page 6. And on page 27, we have prison spent 750 naira to feed inmate, 800 naira to feed dogs daily. Senate told Controller General. Senate told, and then Controller General proposes 3,000 naira daily for inmates. And this has been, since this week, there's been a complaint about, the inmates not being treated well, and and it has been a concern to some good citizens of Nigeria, and they are talking about how the government can actually make their life more suitable, even as they are, being closed in the prison. So I think the government should do something about it instead of just allowing these people to, not feed well. But if you say this, some people will say actually it's prison is not meant to be conducive for people, but they are still humans. And then there are many people who are in prison actually forcefully, false allegations. Some cases, went wrongly somehow, and some of them are just there, not even because they are guilty. And some of these people actually face this kind of treatment too. So we really need, the government to do something so that these people cannot just live lives like that. And going to page 7, Sanusi president should not be petroleum minister. And then another writer says, I was sacked for exposing corruption in NNPC, he says. That is Sanusi. And then we also have National Judicial Council recommends retirement of Osun High Court judge, declines Adeleke's Adeleke's request on CJ, that's the Chief Judge, and that's on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. We have alleged failed abduction, file contempt proceedings against EFCC, DSS if Reps Committee tells Emefiele's lawyer, and that is on page 1. We have Adelabu to rejoin APC next week, and that is still on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune. We have on 26, Edo Forest gunfire attack, 3 NDLEA operatives injured, 1 undergoes brain surgery. And we also have, lastly, on Nigeria Tribune, tributes pour in as Kokori dies on 80th birthday, and that is on page 8 of Nigerian Tribune. We have give our dad accolades he deserves for his sacrifice to Nigeria, and that is coming from Kokori's children, saying that Nigeria should give their father the accolades he deserves as a patriotic, democratic person. And then lastly, we have the Nation newspaper. And on the Nation newspaper, we have tributes galore for Frank Kokori. And then we have oil theft. Tantita security forces arrest another suspicious vessel. And then we also have on page 27, National Judicial Council rejects petition against Osun Chief Judge Adepele Ojo. And then we have Wike defense 15 billion naira vote for VP's residence, and that is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And the lead story on the Nation newspaper is still talking about Tinubu vowing to punish culprits of the Kaduna error, or the Kaduna bombing error. And then that will be it on the Nation's newspaper this morning. And most of the headlines on the Nation newspaper, the lead stories on the Nation newspaper, or on all the newspapers this morning, are talking about the Kaduna bombing and how the federal government is looking into it. There has been, in investigation that is going on, and at the end we'll know exactly what happened. And that will be it for the newspaper review this morning. We'll be going on a short break, and when I get back, we'll continue with some of our stories that we'll be looking at. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome to Live News. The immediate past Minister of Youth and Sports Development Chief Sunday Dare, the federal government of Nigeria has taken punitive action against the secretariat. Nigerians have expressed fear over the possible shutdown of businesses and job losses.
See, things are just going higher every day.
For the fact that going from here to Ombalin day before was at 300, but now is at the high side of 700, 800.
The subsidy costs us trillions of naira yearly. Such as a vast sum of money will have been better spent on public transportation, health care, school, housing, and even national security.
Titus! Why you dey rush to go now?
See, I dey go my sister house, so now their baby, her pikin just dey cry all the time. Now so they cry, the pikin dey cry. Day before yesterday, the same thing. Yesterday they call me. Today they don't call me again. I don't tire.
The pikin dey sick.
I don't know. It just they cry, one strong cry like this.
If it be say the child need to go for genotype test too.
Genotype test? Which one be that?
Genotype test. The one where they go take his blood sample, they go come test time if he gets AA,
okay,
AS, or even SS.
That one sound like something wey go expensive. Oh, man, I don't get money.
Titus, calm down. Now free of charge.
Free of charge? I beg, where if you do this thing?
If you're ready now, just walk into any primary health center. Ask them, say you want to do test, genotype test, they go do one for you.
My sister, thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Come on. The child don't reach 6 weeks.
Na 4 weeks this child be.
Okay. Make sure not do am before 6 weeks.
Before 6 weeks?
Yes, 0 to before 6 weeks.
0 to 6 weeks.
Free of charge.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. I'm grateful. God will bless you for me.
Bele.
Thank you.
Do.
Okay. This message now from the Center of Excellence for Sickle Cell Disease Research and Training, University of Abuja and Novartis.
All right, you're welcome back, and we are going to go straight into our discussion this morning, and we'll be starting from the Kaduna bombing. And President Bola Tinubu has declared that those responsible for the Tudunbiri village bombing, which resulted in over 90 deaths, will face appropriate punishment. The president also announced that the victims will receive support through the new Folaka initiative set to begin this month. Tudunbiri village will be the first to be rebuilt under this initiative. From the presidency, Vice President Kashim Shettima visited the Barau Diko Teaching Hospital to express condolences. He emphasized the federal government's dedication to combating banditry in the region. And well, a former executive secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, Usman Yusuf, has lamented over the erroneous bombing. He argued during the 2023 election, Islamic clerics sold a fraudulent Muslim ticket to Nigerians in the region. Yusuf fumed that Muslims are still being killed in the north, despite the president and the vice president being Muslims. Another prominent Islamic scholar and tutor, Sheikh Gumi, has also reacted to this same, Kaduna bombing. He says no one should tell him that what happened in Kaduna was a mistake. He knows clearly, and then we know clearly that is not a mistake. So this has been going round, this actually prompted so many reactions from people. But we know that this thing is actually, it is actually a sad thing. It is actually a very terrible thing that has happened in Nigeria, and it is expected that people will react. But even in our reactions, please, we have to also be very careful what we say, because this is actually a very sensitive period that people are mourning. People are sad. Everyone is sad. I don't think because this thing is happening in Kaduna, people in Lagos or people in Delta or people in other places should be happy with what is happening. No, it shouldn't be, because most of the people that were affected were Muslims, and Christians will be happy about it. No. And even when Christians are attacked, it is not a good thing that Muslims will be happy. So we are Nigeria and we are one. So if this thing happens to the Muslim, it is happening actually to Nigeria, and it is going to affect everybody. And talking about fraudulent Muslim ticket, I don't know what will be the connection between, what is happening and, bringing about fraudulent Muslim ticket. And then, but I know that the government, Tinubu has said it, that they are looking into this thing that has happened, this terrible thing that has happened, and at the end, when the investigation is concluded and when the culprits are finally out, they are going to face the full punishment that they deserve. And talking about security and then talking about intelligence, the U.S. government has advised Nigeria to use the AI intelligence so that they can have more effective, working system as a force in Nigeria. We can't have people who are supposed to take care of us, people who are supposed to protect us, telling us that there was an error on their own part. Of course, because they are humans, actually, errors can happen, but this is actually a very huge error, and people are complaining, people are saying a lot of things, but we know that all these things are happening, God knows why all these things happened, and we pray that, you know, everything is going to be settled amicably. You know, the vice president went to see some of the, you know, the patients in the hospital. He sympathized with them, and then, you know, he paid condolences to those who lost their loved ones. And then the federal government has promised to rebuild that community under the Folaco initiative, and that community will be the first to benefit under that initiative. So I just know that, you know, at the end, that these people are going to, you know, get, you know, what they deserve, because the northern leaders also came out to say, to lament, and also to say that the government has to give a huge compensation for what has happened. But please, the religious leaders, let's be calm, because most times our people, you know, the Nigerian citizens listen to religious leaders so well, and we know that this thing that is happening, you know, definitely is going to cause reactions. But please, let's be calm on our reactions so that the people following us will not see more of the negative in this thing that has happened, you know, instead of being positive about it. And we'll be going to the next story. The special assistant to President Bola Tinubu on social media, Dada Olusegun, has debunked the report that the Central Bank of Nigeria has threatened to delist money transfer banks, including OPay, Kuda, MoneyPoint, from transfer channels. And then, you know, it was said that the Nigerian interbank settlement system in a directive to banks notes that having these non-deposit taking financial institutions, such as switching companies, payment solutions service providers, and super agents as beneficiary institutions on the bank's NIP funds transfer channels contravenes the Central Bank of Nigeria guidelines on electronic payment. However, in a tweet on Thursday, December 7th, the presidential aide says that the report is fake, while urging the public to desist from spreading disinformation because it could lead to panic and hurt businesses. Olusegun also urged members of the public to seek clarification on government policies to avoid spreading disinformation. Well, talking about internet, and then, you know, the information we get on internet, and that is why, you know, most times when these things happen, you know, there is a concern about how not tamed, you know, some of the information we have on internet are. So we have to be very careful, we as people that are conceiving information on internet, and also people who are spreading wrong or falseful rumor. You know, not too long we were talking about how we hope that some of these banks, you know, this is the festive period, we hope that some of these banks will not start giving people problems, because people were already expecting, I hope this bank will not run away with our money, especially the fintech banks. And now this fake story, allegedly though, you know, fake story now saying that this thing is not the way it is. People have just been, you know, bringing out fake rumor about it. And I can remember the OPay, you know, came out first yesterday to debunk it, saying that, you know, the directive given by the Central Bank of Nigeria does not affect OPay. And before now, the federal government coming out to also say that the whole issue about central bank giving that order is actually a fake rumor. So we have to be very careful how we give out information in this sensitive period in Nigeria, where businesses are being closed, or businesses are even closing right now. Things are being hard, and if we give this kind of information, it makes other businesses close. And just like the way the federal government is saying through its media aid, that we should be careful the kind of information we give out there, because it is going to be affecting so many businesses, and, you know, it is not going to be good for the nation. And that will be it on the fintech story, and we'll be going straight to another story and talking about coalition, parties forming coalition against APC in what could be seen as a division among political parties. 7 of them have formed a coalition named Concerned Political Parties to resist the ruling All Progressives Congress. The coalition is made up of the People's Democratic Party, the New Nigeria People's Party, the Social Democratic Party, the African Democratic Congress, the Young Progressive Party, Allied People's Movement, and the Zenith Labour Party. The coalition was set to be formed to thwart the plot of the APC to turn Nigeria into a one-party state. PDP National Chairman Umar Damagum says the coalition is to offer strong opposition to the APC. And while reacting to the development, the APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Moka was quoted to have dismissed the coalition with a wave of the hand, adding that the party won't be distracted by the coalition. The ruling All Progressives Congress has also disclosed that it is not worried by the decision of the 7 opposition political parties to form a coalition against it. The party says it is up to the parties to prove themselves before Nigerians. Well, I noticed that, Labour Party is not actually mentioned there. So maybe in this merger, Labour Party is not involved this time around. And talking about the merger, PDP also came out to debunk the story, saying that they have nothing to do with this coalition that is happening. And then, but the thing is, thank God that APC has come out to say that they are not worried about this thing. They are not going to be distracted because they are seeing this thing as some, distractions. But at the end, they say all these parties are going to actually, prove themselves. And we've been talking about good leadership. We've been talking about good governance. This is the time where, our leaders need to come together and fight corruption, fight what is happening in the country, and then fight, inflation, fight, insecurity that is happening. A lot of things are happening right now. And what we need to do is to, center ourselves into, being positive instead of being negative, or instead of plotting against, the existing rule or the existing leader just for us to make ourselves, right at any time. And also for the federal government, please listen to the cry of people and make life easy. We know that the federal government has talked about some, initiative. They've talked about some loans and grants that they need to give people for them to, relieve them some of the hardship that is happening in Nigeria. Talking about the fuel subsidy, that, caused hardship in Nigeria. And people have been lamenting a lot, talking about closing their businesses. Transportation is getting high, and people local flights now is 200,000 naira, and then so many things are happening. So please, the government has to do something about it. Either we like it or not, people are going through a lot, and that is why people are murmuring. But the government has also said that the people should calm down, that at the end they are going to do something about it. But still, in our calmness, they need to know that things are really, really deteriorating, and they need to do something about it. And going straight to another story that we have is from the FCT, and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has reacted to the recent protests at the National Assembly by some people calling for his resignation. The minister, in his reaction on Thursday, says he is not distracted because not everybody will agree with the policies of the government, but actions must be taken in the interest of the people. Some Abuja natives and members of civil society groups on Wednesday gathered in a large protest at the National Assembly complex demanding the resignation of Wike. The protesters criticized Wike's leadership, labeling it as incompetent and lacking vision for the development of the Federal Capital Territory. Adamu Kabir Matazu, speaking on behalf of the protesters and representing the network of civil societies for economic sustainability, urged for an investigation into Wike's land allocation policies in the FCT. However, in response, the former Rivers State governor stated that he remains unbothered by the actions of those who protested against him because he knows they were simply paid to do so. The minister says he won't be distracted by such things as he remains focused on delivering the mandate of President Bola Tinubu to the people of the FCT. Well, that is what I have to say on that. But I feel like the government of Federal Capital Territory and also the people of Federal Capital Territory should come together and have a better understanding on how to go about these allocation policies and all, because the native of the Abuja the Abuja native are not actually happy about some of the policies by the government. So I think it is high time, they sit on a round table to come to a conclusion on how to go about things. Because even though we know it is not easy, especially when you want to, put a proper, effective, rule to your work ethics, people are going to be affected. People are going to complain. But whatever it is, there has to be a conclusion. There has to be a resolve at the end of the situation. Going to the next story, numerous global enterprises have bid farewell to Nigeria in 2023. On a sad note, citing an unfavorable business climate as the primary reason for their exit. The recent removal of the fuel subsidy has exacerbated the challenges of operating in the country, making it increasingly difficult for multinational corporations to thrive. Some of the multinational companies that departed Nigeria in 2023 are Bolt Food, the meal delivery service provider, has declared the discontinuation of its services nationwide starting December 7th, 2023. And that was yesterday, December 7th, 2023. So people who sit at home to, order food, well, these services is not going to be, is not going to be rendered to you anymore, because they feel like, the economic or the economic weather in Nigeria is not favorable for that type of business. And, people are beginning to be more economical with their money, instead of you sitting home at your comfort to say, okay, I want to just order something. At least you will bring another initiative, which, to some people is not favorable. They would rather, order food online, because we have a lot of people who want to just order things online instead of, just doing it by themselves. And then another one is the P&G, that's the Procter & Gamble, a major player in the consumer goods industry. And then another one is Unilever, a leading consumer goods company, also made headlines earlier this year by revealing plans to discontinue manufacturing some of its popular products, including Omo and Lux in Nigeria. And this is actually on a very sad note. Most of us grew up knowing, using Omo, using Lux, and we know the love, how on using those things. And I can remember when I was growing up, there was a time, you get to see some of the advertisements you see on your TV that you don't see them anymore. It is because of probably, the unfavorable condition for the business that has made the business to, go off. And some of these things like the Lux and then, the Omo, we can't afford to, not have them again in Nigeria. But well, let's go to another one. That's the GlaxoSmithKline, and then that's a British healthcare and biotech firm with 51 years of operations in Nigeria. GSK plans to stop the commercialization of its top medicines and vaccines through local operating companies, opting for a third-party direct distribution model. And we also have the Equinor, a Norwegian Energy Corporation, and also we have the Sanofi Aventis Nigeria, a prominent French pharmaceutical company. I can remember, some people were talking about how expensive some of these drugs are. Drugs that were actually sold 1,500 naira, it became 4,500 naira. And now those same drugs, in a circular that was going round, it is now sold like 20-something thousand naira. And some of our colleagues were showing it. We do not know how true, the prices of those drugs are. But even actually, if they are like that, then which means people are going to be dying, because many people can't afford to, take drugs. And we've been talking about, so many times they've been saying, do not do self-medication, do not just go to any, herbal person to give you a local drugs, because you need to know your dose, you need to be examined, you need to do all of those things. But going to the hospital and using some of these drugs in the hospitals are becoming, impossible because their prices are really, really getting high. And some of these companies are, leaving Nigeria. And let's continue with, as multi-national companies continue to navigate the complexities of the Nigerian business environment, this recent exit underscored the challenges posed by economic uncertainties, unfavorable policies, and restrictions on fund repatriation. Reacting to the report, the former Anambra governor, Peter Obi, laments that the continued exit of multinational companies from Nigeria was an indication that the country's business environment was deteriorating continually. Well, and of course, we know that, the business condition is actually deteriorating, but we also have to, come together as Nigerians, to fight what is really, really happening. As leaders, as people of Nigeria, whatever is happening now affects everyone. And, the government has also been talking about how Nigerians should be careful because there are some people, who are being paid to act or dramatize or to put inflation or to cause troubles, to cause some of this chaos that is happening just for, for them to sabotage another person's work. But whatever it is, there is a direct impact on people. And people are dying, people are living in hunger. There are people, as we talk presently, there are people who have stayed 3 days, 2 days, a day without eating. There are children who are roaming the streets without shelter. There are children who are roaming the street without shelter, without food, without clothing. And, sometimes when you sit in your comfort and you complain about some of the things that are happening, just imagine somebody who is having that type of life. And that is why we have criminal activities on a high pace now in Nigeria. You will hear banditry every time, kidnapping, so many things are happening. So we really, really, really need to do something about it. The government has to do something about it. Of course, we will still go back to the government. We'll still go back to them, trying to protect our lives. We'll still go back to them trying to make our lives easy. Talking about the initiative, we would like to know that, okay, this initiative that they have brought up, talking about the palliative to curb the high rate of inflation in Nigeria or the hardship that is happening in Nigeria, we need to know that, okay, these are the people who have actually benefited from what the government has or what the government is trying to give. Because so many people are still complaining, the government has promised us this, the government has promised us that, and we have not seen it happen yet. So the government has to, be prompt with what they are trying to do, because we really need a change in Nigeria. People are crying, things are hard, and people are not finding it funny. And the Christmas is here, and you know how, this is the spirit of Christmas. We do not need so much chaos to be happening. At least let the spirit come in calmness. The spirit of Christmas is always calm. So let the calmness overwhelm everything. So please do not be negative. So Nigerians now, before we go, my last words to you now, no matter what you're going through, no matter what is happening, trust me, it is not the end of time. It is time for you to re-strategize yourself. It is time for you to, put yourself in another different mode or another different light. If you are used to a certain way of living, then you need to move and, change your way of thinking. You need to change your way of doing things so that things can be better for you. Of course, we know it is not easy, but we are just saying everybody should try his or her best for his sanity and for your own peace of mind, joy and happiness. You need to also do something for yourself by trying to uplift yourself, by trying to help yourself move from what is happening to the next level. Okay, and thank you for watching Alive this morning. This is all we have for you this morning. Thank you for watching. Keep watching Alive Television, and I will see you on Monday, or we will see you on Monday, hopefully. Thank you so much.